Hello everyone and welcome back to Arctic Retro and this second part of the Commodore 64 repair. I usually prefer not to have to split videos up in parts, but sometimes a video can take a little bit more time, be more involved, and also I want to show most of the details, so I hope you bear with me on this. Anyway, thanks for watching. Let's see now how it went and if it was a good outcome of this repair. Okay, the chip is out. I put in a socket and this time everything went smooth, so I'm gonna check that it works as before. Yeah, still the same, obviously, didn't break anything. So now I have this new 4066. Well, let's check. Nope. That was not it. Okay, so what do we do now? Okay, so obviously I cannot find out what's the matter here, so instead of actually just swapping out chips and testing with working chips, I thought I'll rather try and figure out how this keyboard decoding actually works on a C64. The keyboard decoding is done with this kind of matrix where each key is decoded by the key presses sending signals onto the two parallel ports on the CIA1 chip. And here we can see the pinout for the CIA chip. It has parallel port A and parallel port B, and those goes from PA0 through 7 and PB0 through 7. And the kernel ROM actually sends a signal to the PA port, so that's the output. On the PA parallel port there is a bit shifted signal sent out regularly by the kernel ROM. And then in case any key is pressed, that will be read as a low on the input PB port. And here is a description of the keyboard interface. So it says here that parallel port A signals are outputs and parallel port B signals are inputs. And the 0 bit is shifted through the parallel port A. And when a key is depressed on the keyboard, the 0 bit is returned on one of the parallel port inputs. And that is generated by the kernel ROM. So now I systematically go through all the input and output ports on the CIA chip and note down the activity. Since the keyboard is not connected now, we should not see actually any signal on the input. However, on the outputs there should be a signal all the time, but a bit shifted. That of course will be hard to see on the scope, but at least we should see some pulses there. So let's see now, this is PB0. And here we can see that there is actually a pulse every 10 to 15 milliseconds. Switching to PB1, there is nothing. Maybe a very short pulse from time to time. PB3, there's pulses. PB4, and so on. Then on the inputs, since no key is pressed, then all 0 through 7 should be high. And this is PB0. Let's go through them all. PB1, PB2, PB3, PB4, PB5, PB6, PB7. So they are all high, so that means that that is the correct input, but still there are characters printed on the screen. So that means all the pins on the port A are actually correct except PA1. There were no signals on that. And also PA7 was a little different than the other ones. It has a much wider pulse there, so I'm not really sure why. So obviously there is something wrong with the signaling from the kernel ROM. At least that is my theory now. So we know that the CIA chip is working, but it doesn't generate the correct signal on PA1. And of course it gets that signal from the kernel ROM via the data bus. So next I'm gonna check the data bus lines, pin 33 down to 26. So there's D0, seems to have a normal signal. D1, okay, look at that, that's not correct. There is no input from the data bus on D1. Let's check D2. Yeah, looks alright. D3, D4, D5, D6, D7. Okay, that's interesting. So there is nothing on D1 there. So then we can, of course, take it from there and check out if there's any broken trace or anything on that. Checking the same pin on the other CIA chip, there is a signal on D1 there. So yeah, then that makes me think there is some bad connection or a broken trace on this chip or the socket there. So then I need to try and find that. And indeed all the three ROMs have activity on D1. Next is to check the connection between the two CIA chips on that pin, and this is D0, and there we have continuity, and D1 actually nothing. So that confirms what we actually found out. There is no continuity between pin 34 on the two CIA chips. Okay, I'm gonna remove this socket and see what's going on underneath it, and then I'm pretty sure this issue will go away if we find anything wrong there. Alright, I have a pretty good feeling about this, and just to test that the theory is correct, I'm just gonna put a wire between the two pins on the two chips. If I hit the correct one, yeah, look at that, it stopped. Let's see now. Yes, the fault is gone. So I said that I wanted to replace that socket, but I think I actually have done enough desoldering on this, so I'm just gonna solder in a small wire between on the back side of the board. That's the easiest way of doing it, but I think that's okay in this case, instead of desoldering the socket and risking to do more damage. So I marked the two pins, pin 32 on both, and the traces for these pins goes on the other side, and I have looked there and I can't really see anything there, no visible broken traces, but they go for the most part under the socket, so hard to see. First I'm just going to try and freshen up that solder point, see if that actually fixes it. It can be a bad solder job done on that socket, that pin. Yeah, and I can see that looks like maybe the solder won't stick very good there. If I add a little bit fresh solder, maybe it flows further down. Let's check now. No, Still no connection between those points, so I'm gonna solder in a wire then. Okay, I think we're good. Just gonna cut that little end of that one. Alright, are we good? Let's see. Yep, look at that. Nice. So now I'm gonna test with an actual keyboard, see if that works. Yeah, that seems to be working just fine, and yeah, all the keys are working. Let's see the restore. Restore is working. The restore is a little special key. It has its own logic that sends a signal to the CPU, I think, when you hit it. Oh, the spacebar is a little bit bad. Alright, so next I'm gonna run diagnostics test again. When I ran the test last time, it failed on both CIA, so I'm pretty curious now to see the result. Alright, look at that. It says U2 bad. And now the SID chip sounds okay, no issues there. But then we have something with the serial port. And that, of course, will affect loading from a floppy disk drive. Gonna try another CIA chip. So I think this is the last spare CIA chip I have for the Commodore 64. Yes, look at that. Everything works, yay! And the C chip is quite alright. I don't know why it sounded bad before. Maybe it wasn't properly seated, or maybe that issue with the data bus input for CIA1 had an impact. I swapped the two CIA chips now, the ones that were originally on this board. Let's see if that has an effect on the test. Yeah, look at that. Now everything tests okay, and I might keep my spare CIA chip a while longer, perhaps. Alright, so the machine is working now, and even though one of the CIAs came out bad in the test, it might be that it's marginal, and that it actually fails on some tests that are not necessary on that CIA chip. Anyway, I'll test this a lot more when I finish it up. So I actually got a little bit of help for this video. I consulted my friend Kjell at Coiro Retro Innovations. You should check out his channel. He makes really good Commodore 64 repair videos and lots of other interesting stuff. So check out his channel. I'll link to it in the description. And I also asked, in fact, on Twitter, and I got a couple of helpful hints there as well. So yeah, the community is very helpful if you just ask them. Okay, so the video isn't finished yet. Next I'm gonna take a look at the keyboard and fix it up, clean it up, and take a look at those keys that wasn't functioning very well. And I'll also do a little recapping, I think. I took off the keycaps and I cleaned the keyboard, and it was as usual gross, but now it's looking better. And yeah, I also cleaned the case, but some of the keys weren't functioning very well, so I'm gonna open the keyboard backplate and remove it, and then we can see if we need to clean inside to improve it. That was a lot of screws. Now we have this caps lock, or shift lock it's called, on these machines, and that is soldered in. Yes, and yeah, there's a bit of dirt on this PCB. Look here, a lot of, don't know if you can see it. Yeah, down here, on some of the keys here. So a lot of dirt or something, white dust. But otherwise it looks good. No corrosion. All the pads look quite shiny. So just using a little bit of alcohol. And then this cotton pad made for makeup removal. And all the key plungers, I'm gonna clean the rubber part a little bit. So I'm gonna use a little cotton swab with some alcohol and just a little bit on each. Use a new cotton swab after every 5th or 6th. Alright, hopefully that will improve this keyboard. Okay, let's test the keyboard now. Looking good. Yeah, very nice. Don't have to push very hard. Almost nothing. Alright, next I'm gonna do some quick recapping of the electrolyte capacitors. There's not many of them. These 3 large, that one over there, and 2 there, yeah. So I think I have the correct values. I have a little stock of Commodore 64 caps, or the values that fits most of those machines. Here's the caps I need, and I'm gonna quickly replace these old caps now. Recapping done. Always nice with something new. Unfortunately, I didn't have a blue one for the 470 microfarad. I had only this black, but that's okay. And a little red one here. Now let's test if it still works. Yep. Final thing I'm gonna do now is just to add a few heat sinks, at least on the VIC 2 and the CPU and the SID chip, and then I think we're ready to assemble the machine and take it for a little test round. I'm gonna leave out that original shield that was around it. Almost finished now. I need to take care of this loose badge here, and also the missing clips on the back of the top cover. I have removed the old glue, and I'm just gonna add a little bit of new contact glue. It's a little bit difficult to get it completely straight after you remove it, but I think it's okay. Perfect. I added a little weight to it so that it sticks in place until it's dried. To repair the case clips, I actually have these 3D printed clips. I have printed them before. I have used them before. They are sturdy, but the difficulty is to get the correct position so that they fit perfectly into the case. If not, you will probably break them off immediately. Just gonna sand down the surface a little bit so that they hopefully will stick better to the plastics. And these fit right into the grooves here. Hard to tell exactly how high they are going to be, but I suppose it's just the tip sticking out that has been broken off. I figure around there, so I just have to try and fit it before I glue them in. Lucky it's a very good fit between there, so it sticks in, so I can test it before I add the glue. Okay, I see I put them the wrong way, obviously. Of course they point outwards. Yeah, I think that's a good fit on that side. However, here it feels more loose. Okay, now they are on equal height. I'm just gonna make a little mark. Then a little super glue. Try to not glue my fingers this time. A little bit extra on the edges. Alright, then I leave this to dry overnight. It's late in the evening now, so I'm gonna finish off anyway. I might strengthen it even a bit more with some epoxy glue around it. Let's see now. Yes, that seems to fit, yeah, almost perfectly. Just one more thing before I finish. I wanted to test if loading from cassette is working on this machine, and this is actually the cassette recorder that came with the machine. I have cleaned it up. I didn't show that in the video, but should be good now. Let's see. Yeah, look at that, found winter games. Just gonna see if it loads to completion. No, it just crashed. Okay, maybe the tape is a little bit bad, and maybe the alignment is a little bit poor. I'm not sure. I'm gonna try another tape. This is also from this the world's greatest epics, Movie Monster. Yeah, look at that, it loaded. Nice, so now we know that loading works, the tape recorder I got works, so everything is fine. The machine is finished, looking pretty good, and everything is now working. Except for the yellowing, that's pretty ugly, but that I'm gonna fix sometime later when we get some more sun here. Unfortunately, I was not able to start on repairing that floppy disk drive because I simply didn't get enough time for that. That will be another video on its own, I think. Just made a note on everything I did here for future reference, and yeah, now I really want to try a game on this machine to see if it really is working or not. Run. All right, look at that. We're in. Alright, that was all for this video. It was a lot of work for one Commodore 64, but finally I got it working. And now it is a 100% working machine, and it has now gotten a new life and can live on for some time more. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned something. And as usual, a special thanks to my supporters at patreon.com. See you, bye bye.